Good morning. Good morning. What's up, folks? How's everybody doing this morning? Hope you are doing well. We've got some economic data numbers firing off as we get started here this morning, so we'll definitely talk about those. Keeping an eye on ES here, so let me get that shared with the with our folks in Discord. To you all in Discord or following on YouTube, good morning. How are you? What's up, Mr. Zeke? Although I don't even know if you're still here anymore. That's from 6:55 yesterday. So what's up? What's up, Navy Plum? Good to see you. We can certainly work on play. Hope you've been well. Don't know if you've been joining our YouTube streams or not, but good to see you as always. Um, and for those who have joined on YouTube, feel free to say what's up, say good morning so I know you're here so I can say hello right back at you. All right, so let's take a look at these economic data numbers that just dropped. Durable goods orders came in above the consensus, below the previous readings. That's, I'd say, fairly positive growth rate for GDP. Right on target, not below what the expectation was, lower than the previous reading, but again, that was expected. So if it was expected, you could, to some extent, say that's been priced in at this point. GDP price index came in right in line with the forecast. And I'm sorry, GDP growth rate came in slightly higher than the forecast. Sorry, I was reading the wrong column there. 0.1, so a tenth of a percent higher than expected. So that's actually pretty positive news. Durable goods orders again came in slightly below. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the transport. Sorry. Uh, yeah, came in at zero point 0.1. That was the forecast on that. Goods trade balance, jobless claims 233, forecast 239, so slightly lower than expected. And retail auto inventories, that's an interesting metric to try to track right now with their whole ransomware issue that they're dealing with that major software platform that facilitates all the transactions for not only auto dealerships but body shops and I think like everybody else under the sun. So what's up, Frank? Good to have you here. Yeah, if you're new to trading, this is the place to be. Feel free to reach out with any questions. We're always happy to help. If you really want to kind of get a deep dive, please do check out our Discord community. That is a fantastic place to develop and hone your skills to become a strong and independent trader of your own. We certainly have, alerts and trade plans and all of those things that make most, trading Discord communities thrive and grow. But, I think the biggest thing that Xtrades does in our community that I've never seen anywhere else as far as Discord communities go is just such a heavy focus on education and really, like me personally, I lean toward more toward giving out trade plans than firing off alerts and stuff like that, just because I feel like it's better than an alert to some extent. There's no question about how to follow the trade at that point, and it can make a huge difference in getting people to kind of with training wheels on start to see things the way that you know somebody who's been doing this for a long time sees them. So anyway, glad to have you here. I really appreciate you joining. Glad you like the content. All right, so let's dig in. Let's talk about some charts. We've gone over the little economic data points and said our good mornings and hellos. We kind of talked about this week on Tuesday probably being a choppy, volatile, kind of sideways week. That's what we've seen so far. So, no real surprises. I think if you've been joining these live streams, it's been choppy and sideways for the most part. We do keep bouncing out of the top of this demand zone. We keep struggling with this 55, 41, 75 level that, again, can kind of keep us with a little bit of a ceiling over our head, and we're testing it right here pre-market again and finding some resistance right at it again. So again, things still, I feel like I just said again 1,000 times, things still looking a bit sideways and choppy to me. We might just have a week of consolidation this week. So that can happen from time to time. Price action on SPY has not been all that great, that's for sure. And then we have seen some pushes and some attempts to move things higher. I do note that we are kind of seeing slightly higher lows. So some signs of bullishness that maybe things are shifting in favor of the bulls here, and they're starting to step back in and might be preparing for another push. But again, I'd say that that's to be determined, remains to be seen. Certainly, we probably do have a level that I just haven't mapped out yet. But again, we haven't spent a lot of time up in this range, so we might now just be seeing it sort of come to fruition. But I think we do have at least an hourly level right about here where we've seen some things topping out. I think if we get a good hourly candle close above that, but even better, and I'd say more importantly over 55, 61.50. I'm sure we talked about that on Tuesday. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like we would. It's a very clear issue right there with that confluence with the key selling pressure on Neptune before things flip back fully bullish here on the hourly, and that confluence with that fib extension that I've had in place for a while at 55, 61.50. So, really, I think that's the key level to break, and then we get up to testing the supply zone overhead and current all-time high levels from there, potentially making new all-time highs. But we could see that move start a little bit earlier. So 55.51, keep that on watch, but 55.61, I think that's strong confirmation that we do move to the upside. If you do start to go long on things and want to kind of use ES as a barometer for whether or not to stay long or start to maybe hedge your positions or potentially stop out, just depending on what you're doing. 55.51 would be, I think, a smart stop loss. Kind of should flip resistance to support at that point if we get over 55.61. So potential aggressive entry, right? More confirmed entry, and if we wait for the more confirmed entry, I say we use that aggressive entry as the stop loss or kind of the barometer to say, okay, things might be getting back into this chop range if we get back below 55.51, at which point, chop is terrible for options contracts. It's death by 1,000 cuts and slow and agonizing, and just give me volatility, stop me out, or let me hit price targets, right? I don't want to sit there and just watch things go sideways while my contracts slowly erode and theta eats them alive. So anyway, again, a lot of what we were anticipating so far. We do see the moving averages catching up here, though. On the hourly, market seems to be having somewhat of a positive reaction to that economic data this morning. But again, I think we still have turbulence right overhead and support right below. So again, we could continue to see just choppy sideways action possibly through the end of the week. So we'll let that all play out. Let's get to some trade reviews. Let's talk about our member selected tickers that we did over the weekend. Amazon was top number one ticker that everybody wanted, or not everybody, but the majority of folks wanted me to do a plan for going into this week. I've looked at this a few times and I just wonder if there's something I missed, or maybe I'm missing a level somewhere in this range, but we kind of caught shy, or have bounced shy of this support that I have down here at 185.09. And definitely looks like a confirmed break, and should have pushed lower on that break below and back test. So maybe just a little bit of a bear trap. Again, nobody's 100% effective. I did note when I was looking at the hourly chart, as I was kind of looking through this, was there anything that would have kind of made me hesitate or caused me to not put this plan into play? Again, this, even on the hourly, looks like a really great break below, back test, rejection. I would have expected that to continue lower, close to this PT1. I saw potential when I was doing the plan for maybe a bounce near this double bottom, but that didn't really look like a strong level to me. I thought the real level was just a little bit lower. So that's why I had that as PT1. But anyway, we got the break below, back test. I mean, that looked like it should have continued down, but not every plan works. But going back to my, what could I have possibly noted or seen that would have maybe helped me avoid or position, reduce my position size on this particular trade? That's one thing that we always want to look at when we, have plans that get invalidated before we take any profit and, ultimately stop us out for a loss. This 200 SMA moving to the upside and kind of in the way, impeding our move down to PT1 could have potentially been a factor, and crossing over to the bullish side of things. So Neptune was also fairly bullish, but I know not everybody has the the indicator. So, that's not something I try to rely on, but anybody can put the 200 SMA on their charts, and this 333, couple that I really like to watch. But again, this plan just invalidated, right? And that happens sometimes. Nobody's 100% on either side of these things, but ultimately Amazon did, as of yesterday, make up for the downside loss with a really nice move and rapid move to the upside, where we were able to scale out for some profits on a confirmed break. So we got our close above here on the 15, little dip and test back, started to see that respond as support. That's a great signal to go ahead and say, okay, plan's confirmed. We saw the run up and rejection, right, of that call entry level from the plan that we did Sunday. Now we flip that to support. That's a great, again, signal to go ahead and get in and play this to the upside. From there, pretty much a straight shot up to PT1 before we found any resistance. And again, these are fib extensions. So, as of this point, this is all-time highs. Amazon had never seen really anything higher than 191.65. And we caught that first price target, I think, pretty nicely. Definitely within a reasonable margin of error, reasonable range right there at 194.27. Ultimately printed a little higher, but continued ultimately to find resistance there. Now it looks like we're trying to flip that resistance to support, so very similar to what we saw back here, flipping that resistance to support. We're trying to do that here pre-market, and could be going for PT2, so you should have already moved your stops up. And I would say, probably I'd have my stops, if you're using a psychological level and don't want to just use your contract break even as a stop loss, probably 193.16 would be a good level to keep on watch. Would be a new, very recently established level. 193.10 actually. Let's go with that. I know that seems like splitting hairs, but I'd keep something in that range on watch as far as psychological or mental stop. Or just break even on your contracts. But I'm very much expecting to see at least PT2 on this next push, which I'm hoping will happen today, then on up to PT3, at which point we will have completed all the targets for the upside on this plan, and it will have definitely made up for the downside misfire plan being invalidated back there. So again, that does happen. Nobody's perfect. Even my plans are not perfect. We'll take hits every once in a while. Coin, this one's already, we talked about this Tuesday, played out strongly to the downside. We opened below, and this is again something that I just want to reiterate. When we get this kind of move where we do this plan here Sunday evening, right? So I did the plan when the price action's up here. Come Monday morning, we gap down below when we're essentially rejecting our put entry as resistance. As we look at the pre-market price action play out, we see it gap down and reject a couple times here. This 8 a.m. candle right here rejects, which a lot of times TradingView has a weird glitch candle at 8 a.m. But interesting that it, that wick does touch our put entry perfectly. However, again, we can't do anything with that information at this point with options contracts, but we see some support, right, start to build here at PT1. So this is when you wait for that back test opportunity, right? Get that back test entry. Don't chase this when we're already at PT1. Wait for the back test. Let the trade come to you, and then you play it to the downside. So from there, we got PTs 1 and 2, and on down to this weekly support, which was very, very strong and very accurate. Has since bounced and made higher lows for a little bit there, but seems to be coiling for a brief period of time through this range, and now moving back to the downside and rejecting the 200 SMA, it looks like here pre-market. So another interesting one, and would also be interesting if we do get another back test of this 220.84 to take puts on a rejection there. Nice confluence with Neptune's bearish flag here on the 15-minute. Let's just take a look at the hourly, see if there's anything that would kind of change that perspective. Yeah, not really. So yeah, I would say keep your eye on another back test of 220.84. If you start to see a rejection form there, go ahead and run this plan back another time. Can continue to kind of keep recycling it as long as it's playing within our range. And then last but not least, from the member selected tickers, Palantir. This one did give us a break above. Nice back test here to the upside. Has gotten PT1 plus. Found, looks like the stronger resistance a little bit higher here at 24.59. We were looking to scale out profits at 24.48. So, kind of a minuscule difference there where the real resistance was. And again, if I'm ever in doubt, I'll always kind of skew to the closer target and be a little bit more conservative to make sure that we are taking profits, trying to hold some support here and maybe a back test here at 2402, so keep that on watch. If it does continue to hold and bounce off of 2402, could be another good one to try to run back and push for these higher price targets. But again, make sure you're scaling out as we hit each, and also make sure that you're respecting the stops on the plan. Tuesday morning, we did the MU trade plan that we're looking at here. MU reported earnings yesterday. It seemed like they had, if I recall, beat top and bottom. I'm not sure if they guided low or if maybe, it was just kind of a sell the news event. That can happen as well. All on the list of reasons why trading earnings can be very challenging. A company can beat top and bottom and look very strong and still ultimately sell off. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the implied move was on MU's earnings, but I've got to imagine it was probably bigger than 5%. Right now we're within that implied move. So again, another reason why earnings reports are incredibly dangerous to trade options contracts through, as far as, just taking straight up binary calls and puts, is, IV crush, right? I think both sides might get crushed on this one this morning. So puts probably going to open up red if you have short dated expirations. Calls definitely going to open up red and probably, close to worthless if you had shorter dated expirations. So again, be very careful when it comes to trading earnings reports. But we did this MU plan, like I said, Tuesday morning pre-market. Looks like it tried to break to the downside here on the 5-minute, but not really anything. Kind of looks like a little bit of a back test there. Let's take a look at it on the 15-minute again. Always make sure that you're getting kind of multiple perspectives as you look at things. Yeah, not a really strong break on either of these instances, I'd say. And the reason why I say that, and this is probably a good teaching opportunity, right? We do see a break below, but that candle's already starting to get bought up by the time it closes. This candle within the buy range of that candle prior, do see some resistance there. So I could potentially see that looking like a back test rejection opportunity. We did have a tight stop on this. Could have averaged down there, though, at the stop loss, averaged down and possibly salvaged the trade. And just escaped with break even on this test back down here. So there was potentially a corrective opportunity there off our stop loss average down from the plan. But ultimately, this one's tried to push to the upside. We saw a gap up pre-market, but ultimately that didn't hold. So by the time trading hours actually kicked in, we were back down below the call entry. And then you see it consolidated below the stop loss average down for the call entry going into that earnings report from where it dumped. We did see a spike back up, another test of that level, and ultimately got sold back off in all the earnings report volatility. Now it seems to be stair-stepping its way back up through our price targets that have completed the cycle to the downside here. So we've now moved back up off of PT3 to PT2 and have flipped that to support, it looks like. So now we're testing PT1 as resistance. Will be interesting to see if that breaks to the upside. If it does, we could see a pretty quick recovery on MU here this morning. So keep that on watch there at 135.82. We could see that fill this fair value gap, or at least retest the 200 SMA here on the 15-minute. So, I would look to take profits anywhere in this 138.77 to 140.23 range if you do take a very risky shot at that. And again, I would say keep your position sizes very small, generally speaking. It's best to operate, I would say operate on a 3-day rule. And the 3-day rule is, if earnings report or if earnings were just reported, give the price action at least 3 days to kind of settle and even out a little bit before you go rushing into any trades. But sometimes you can, especially when something drops on what is overall positive earnings, catch sort of, I would say, like a lotto size position where it just totally inverses and eclipses the earnings report move. So keep that on watch. Could potentially see MU try to make a push here today. And then the other one was on holding. This one's been in our range, so really nothing to report here. We're still looking for a break below 38.08 to play for downside, or a break over 40.32 to play for upside. Nice confluence there at 40.32, so that could also be an interesting rejection entry opportunity for puts. But if it does break to the upside, clears a lot of turbulence out of the way and really opens up things I think, for a continued recovery to the upside over 40.32. So keep on holdings on watch, but nothing to report there just yet. All right, so let's get into some new ticker requests. We've got unknown reviews and Navy Plum already in the mix. Navy Plum bright and early, right there at 8:30 on the dot with play from our Discord community. So let's take a look at play. Dave and Busta's. Interesting. So I have clearly not charted this in a while, but done very extensive charting on it, at least not down in this range. I did decide to pick up this weekly level though here at 37.65, and that's caught some pretty accurate support. Yeah, yesterday's low was 37.66, so a penny off there with that weekly support level, and it seems to try to be bouncing here this morning, although this one does not look like it really has any real extended hours price action. So for this one, we're just going to look at the regular trading hours. But let's take a look at this. Gonna have to add some levels here clearly, because again, I think, yeah, 37.65 was kind of the last time I looked at this, the lowest level I thought we were gonna need. Also, key buying pressure here on Neptune, so interesting confluence here at 37.65. It'd be interesting to see if this one reverses. Looks like there was a pretty gnarly head and shoulders pattern here on the weekly that played out to the downside and could have completed its kind of cycle to the downside. But let's go ahead and plan this out. If this breaks down lower, it could break down a lot lower, but could also be an interesting bounce opportunity. So let's take a look at this for now. I'm gonna hide my indicators. Just want to focus on price action here for a minute. No, this was Navy Plum, not unknown review. So I was getting ready to ask if they have earnings coming up, which, yeah, 70 days out, so not anytime soon. I think Navy Plum's maybe looking for a value dip buy on Dave and Buster's here. Could be wrong. Trying to figure out where this, maybe it's not a weekly level, but there's definitely a key level. Yeah, he said, yep. I think you could be catching an interesting bottom here, to tell you the truth. It's a little iffy on that weekly level, but it's close enough. I'm seeing enough there to call it. It's not, if I was mentoring somebody on drawing support and resistance levels, it's one I would say probably just mark and look at it on other time frames. As you get better at this stuff, you start to just kind of see things a little bit differently, and then you can start to maybe mark some levels that are your eyes telling you, even though the candles aren't fully perfectly telling you that story. Definitely got one there. One sitting right here as well. And last time I was like, well, we're not going to probably need too many lower levels, but we might. 23.48. That is an interesting level. All right. Sorry, I went quiet there for a second because I'm sitting here like over concentrating on these levels here. Apologies. This one is just a placeholder. I think there's something there though. All right, let's dig in a little. smaller time frame. Let's see if we can't nail down this placeholder level. Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be a daily level, and I think that's the case, although interesting level right here just above it, but there's actually a little bit more room there than it appears. We're very zoomed out at the moment. I think we do have another one here though. As far as daily levels go, let's see. Trying to catch these as accurately as we can, right? And sometimes that's easier said than done. All right. Interesting little couple rejections there. Yeah, I see the support as well. All right, I think we're getting pretty close to chopping this up into some hourly levels here. Smaller time frames. Let's check. I do want to check this range between these two weekly levels real quick. Seeing some signs of a potential level right here. Yeah, I think we've got one right about there. Same thing right here. Is it a little higher? Yeah, could be right there. Okay. So let's take a look where we're at. All right. Where we're sitting so far. This 4-hour chart real quick. I just want to see if there's anything that like jumps out at me that we haven't already mapped out here. Whoops. Seeing some interesting levels, but I think a lot of these we can just pick up on the hourly as we try to develop this plan. This is an interesting level right here. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and just do that. We'll kind of fast forward this process a little bit. Get our indicators on. So the question becomes, I mean, first of all, a dip buy off of this 37.65 is a very intriguing opportunity, especially if you're willing to buy shares and hold through potentially a little bit more downside, but this really could wind up being a solid bottom move here. Kind of looking at what's going to happen over 39.04. There is an interesting level right here on the hourly at about 39.58. But I think the more clear upside on this, it's probably, I don't know. I don't want to miss an opportunity here is kind of what I'm hesitating on. Because I think there's essentially a pretty significant fair value gap and a gap to the upside still that needs to fill that probably takes us up into this 40 plus range. So I don't want to wait through all of that. Wonder about this 38, 39 level. I'm probably maybe getting a little too aggressive here. But yeah, I think there is a level right here at about 38.49. So again, I'm maybe getting too aggressive here, but let's go for it. But definitely keep my stop loss tight on that here at 37.65. First upside target, even though I think it does shoot a little bit higher, I don't think I'd want to totally ignore. Let me just take a look. Maybe, again, we're drawing far out on like the weekly, for example. Sometimes you're not as dialed in, laser accurate. I could see this weekly level possibly sitting a little bit more like right here. Let's see where that puts us. Yeah, okay, I like that. So I would say that's your first price target. So this could be a big mover to the upside if it does decide to push for that. Over that, again, adding some levels as we go here. I think 41.33. There's potential resistance there, and you've already caught a massive move to the upside, so let's not be greedy with PTs 2 and 3. And then over that, though, could see a move right up to this 42.58 level. Downside, I have a feeling it's going to be below 36.71, but let's see. Yeah, for sure. Share our stop loss with that upside trade plan. First target, there is a gap that fills to the downside right here. And we've seen a couple of gaps open right around this level, actually. I would definitely use that as a first price target. Let's make sure that we're... Hang on, I might need to hide these indicators again for just for a second, because that long signal is right there in the way. Yeah, I think that level sits right about there. So 35.71. So pretty tight, 1-to-1 ish looking risk to reward there. So be mindful of that. Below that, I think we take a shot though at 34.53. And below that, do I have this 33.35 level a little low perhaps? Let's see what other price action we get around here. It could be a little low. It's probably right about there. Again, very minor change, but try to be, again, laser accurate as often as possible. It could just be a little, even tiny bit higher. Yeah, right there, about 33.49, and I think that makes for a good third price target. All right. Apologies if that took a second, but I wanted to map this out. And again, there is potential, I think, for a bounce off this 37.65. I mean, as long as that's holding, this could be a buy the dip opportunity and could be, again, a big bounce off this dip buy. We're also well out past that earnings report. How bad was that earnings report? I do want to see that real quick. Yikes. Pretty big miss on the both sides, but big miss on the earnings. Whoops. All right, so this is what our trade plans look like. On this upside trade plan, the other thing I would say is high likelihood that this hits a high percent return before we get to PT1. If we hit anything like 50% or 100%, 50%, take 2/3 of your contracts there, leave free runners, or 100%, take half off, leave free runners, right? These are our, oops, I need to copy the link, not the image. The play live stream plans. And let me post these over in our Discord. So, what are we looking for here on play? We're looking for a break over 38.49 for a big move up to 40.52. First price target. Second price target 41.33, and then over that 42.58, playing for the upside with a stop loss average down here at 37.65. Again, really intriguing level here at 37.65. As long as that holds, it could be a really great buy the dip opportunity, especially if you're willing to buy shares. Below 36.71 though, downside starts to open up and become interesting. Below that, I would look to take profits at 35.71. There is a gap fill there, so be mindful of that. And then on down to 34.53 and 33.49 with a stop loss average down at 37.65. Those are your trade plans. Go forth and play these with confidence, unintended. All right, what else do we have? Unknown reviews, Nike. Join the Discord this morning. Awesome, Frank. Glad to hear that. Yeah, perfect, man. Education is the way to go. Feel free to shoot me any DMs that you might have. JTW, staff analyst in the Xtrades Discord. So feel free to shoot me any questions you might have, or if I can be of any assistance. AI revenue did not exceed far enough for MU. Okay, that's good to know. Unknown reviews. I appreciate that insight on why it was a little bit of a pullback despite the positive numbers. Again, earnings reports are not only what have you done for me lately, but what are you going to do for me tomorrow, generally speaking, with guidance being a part of those. So that or that segment potentially, AI being the segment of tomorrow, are you going to, provide returns tomorrow with AI stuff, or is that not moving along as swiftly as possible, which sounds like is what the case is with MU. All right, so Nike, interestingly enough, not interestingly enough, predictably enough, I should say, for unknown reviews. Earnings reports after hours today, but interestingly enough, right in an old trade plan range. I don't know when we did this plan. Generally speaking, if I can find where the long and shorts are, it'll be that pre-market of that day. It looks like we did Nike. Looks like it was maybe a member selected ticker back in March, end of March. So here we are in June, back in the same price range. Has caught this weekly support though a few times, so definitely probably want to adjust some things with this plan. Also see if there's any new levels that have developed or that are just more visible. I do not trade Nike often, so I'm not going to claim to have mapped out every potential level here on this one just yet. But let's take a look at it and just kind of let's go ahead and get rid of some of this old stuff here and clean up these levels real quick. There we go. All right. Nike. I do want to take a quick look, actually, see if this just makes anything jump out at me. Since we already do have some pretty good levels here, I think. Interesting potential entry opportunity. It's looking like over 95.28. Some potential turbulence there still on both the hourly and the 15 with the SMAs over there, above there. But put us back over the 200 here on the hourly. There's still some sell pressure left there on Neptune to the upside. It does look like a really good level to break, and that does open up more upside. I do see some confluences there that would be cleared out if we do break above that, so I'm going to go ahead and use that as our call entry. And there is a level here on the hourly that I think makes a lot of sense for us to use as a stop loss average down. First target, though, this is the interesting one. I mean, it kind of looks like it wants to go all the way for 97.16. It seems a bit greedy, though, especially with some of the sell pressure that's in the way. Also, again, remember earnings after hours today. So, with that being said, I think we need to try to find places to take profit a little bit earlier, in my opinion. And that spot, I think, is 96.50. Assuming we even get a break and a chance to trade this plan over that, 97.16. And then there's a clear double top right here that we wouldn't want to ignore. Could be a triple top, could be a breakout. Also with earnings after hours. Could be none of the above. So let's see. Downside might get interesting below 93.33. Just want to look at this a little bit more. Maybe give it just a little bit more room based on some of what I'm seeing down here to like 93.28. Again, I know it seems like I'm splitting hairs, but those few pennies can be all the difference between a fake out, bad entry, and waiting for a good confirmed entry. So below that, hang on, let me hide these indicators real quick. I want to see price action exclusively here for just a sec. Because I think there is a level I don't have. It could be a factor right here. There at, what is that, 92.04. Yeah, I think our next stop is 91.18 below that. And then has caught some support, kind of a triple bottom down here. Could be catching a higher time frame moving average or something that's interesting. We're not going to use this, but it is a level I'm going to watch if I ever circle back to looking at Nike again. I say let's take a shot at this weekly level. Again, if you're moving your stops up with the plan, you know, you're stopping out for profit if we don't make it all the way there. So I say give it a little bit of a long shot opportunity to get to that third price target. Final reminder, earnings is after hours today, so be extremely cautious swinging any contracts. What this plan says and what the earnings report might do could wind up being in direct opposition to each other. I think there is a better stop on this than sharing the stop with the upside trade plan. Right here. So let's get that locked in. And then let's go through these plans, and then we will be right at a good time to wrap up this morning's live stream. Again, let me just check this, make sure. I mean, yeah, I kind of already looked at the indicators and had those where things were sitting in my brain as I did this plan, so I already know they kind of have good agreement with this. So here are our Nike trade plans. Share this with you guys. And I'll post this in the options watch list as I do with all of our plans. All right, so what we're looking for here on Nike is a break above 95.28. That should bring upside targets at 96.50. Excuse me. 97.16 and 97.97 with a stop loss average down at 94.51. To the downside, we're looking for a break below, what is that, 92.65, I believe. Hang on, let me stretch this out a little bit. No, sorry, 93.28. In fact, I'm going to repost this link. for you guys. That one might be a little bit easier to see. I'm going to edit it over here too, just because I don't want it to be hard to match up the level to the price on the price axis. So we're looking for a break below 93.28 with targets at 92.04, 91.18, and 90.19 with a stop loss average down here at 93.99. Those are your Nike upside and downside trade plans. Also, final reminder, earnings after hours today, so be extremely cautious swinging anything overnight. With that, we're going to call it a day and a week here for the FOMO live streams. I really appreciate you guys joining me this morning. We will be back next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, broadcasting to YouTube and the Xtrades Discord. No live stream next Thursday, as markets will be closed for the 4th of July holiday, and then we'll pick right back up with our regular Tuesday, Thursday schedule the week after that. So, again, I want to thank you folks for joining me this morning. As we always say here on the FOMO live streams, plan your trades, trade your plans, go out there and get some green. For those of you in the Xtrades Discord, I will see you guys in the chats. Hope everybody has a fantastic day. I will see you guys next week. Take care. Talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.